We are blessed to be speaking with three design luminaries today, and I'm going to just hit the highlights of their biographies to start out with, because we could honestly go on and on and on about their accomplishments. First off, I have Barclay Butera, whom I'm sure everyone is familiar with, who has been the creative force behind his eponymous firm and showroom in Newport Beach. Since 1994, he has showrooms in Park City and Corona del Mar, and he has partnered with some of the most notable names in the industry, including Kravit and Nurasan. You've probably seen Barclay on TV, and his work has been published in a wide variety of publications. In between Barclay, next to Barclay, we have Kelli Ellis, who wears quite a few hats in the design world, including artist, designer, licensee, speaker, and a founding partner of Design Campus, not to mention an author. You've also probably seen her on TLC or HGTV, or on the Design Network with her show Design Therapy. She is also widely published as well. And finally, bringing an actual international component to our group this afternoon is Gregory Phillips, who is joining us from England. He established his firm, Gregory Phillips Architects, in 1991, and over the last 25 years has brought his own brand of elegant, refined modernism to country retreats, city homes, period properties, and contemporary architecture. He is an award-winning architect and is also widely published. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are talking about international design and inspiration, Paris calling. So to start out, it's especially appropriate for us today because we are at a design fair. So we're going to put an international lens on design fairs today to start out with. So I'm curious for the group, how do design fairs such as Maison and Objet in Paris expand your perspective as designers and architects? Who wants to tackle that?
I'll do it.
Oh, Kelli, go for it.
I'm going to start because I have the great pleasure of being the American ambassador to Maison Objet for all of you American designers. And that is a new title for me as of this year. And I had never been to Maison until last September when I went to speak. And I thought, they are just, what are they going to want to hear from an American in Maison? It's Paris, right? And to my surprise, we had a full house and the most welcoming group of people. But which was more surprising and more delightful is how incredibly merchandised Maison is. How beautifully thoughtful Maison is in their selection of not only dealers, but how you experience new artists, new manufacturers, and designers in general. It was eye-opening, and I never wanted to come back, number one. But number two, wanted to really share with the American designers how important it was for me, personally, to make that trip.
And so how have you kind of communicated that now with your American audience?
We are working on campaigns. We filmed a lot of really fun videos while I was at Maison showing how easy it is to get around. I speak 7 words of French, and you probably know them all as well. I thought, you know, we needed to get across some of the hurdles that people have, cost, the language, not understanding the market, and all of those things. So we're working really hard in a very fun way, which is the only way I know how to do it, to show the American audience that it's actually not only very simple, but fantastic and eye-opening and inspirational.
You know, if I can step in, I think that what's great about Maison is that it's different from any show, and participating in every show in America, you go to Maison and it's so well edited and it's so well represented by different countries, not just France, but you have the opportunity to see inspiration from a lot of different countries. And the beauty of what they do with their booth structures and how they build the houses and gazebos, and you're looking at something that, like, I don't even know how they afford to do it.
I know.
But it's so inspiring. I happen to license in 10 different fields, so when I go there, the inspiration for me is incredible. And being in Paris and the romance of Paris, and then going to this show, which takes probably 3 days to walk, but it's a beautiful, beautiful show if you haven't gone to it.
Yes,
Okay,
go for
so
it.
I agree. I also think a show like Maison works on many levels. You can get different things from it. So if you wanted to set up a business selling interior design objets, that's the only place you'd need to go. There are so many opportunities there to find gifts or objects, furniture, rugs, especially rugs. There's a lot of rugs that you've never seen before. You could do that in one day. You could set up a business. On the other level, you can find a vase or something that no one else has ever seen, and you'll have that in your repertoire. At the same time as all of that, you could go to see some antique dealer, find a Pierre Jeanneret couch that you just can't believe it's there, and walk away with that. So and then there's the other side, which is you get to meet people that you would never otherwise meet. You socialize. You probably socialize easier there than you do in LA because it's quicker to get to places. Yeah. So there's many opportunities.
And what's special about it, and I'm sure you know this, is that in the January show, you have every American editor that goes to Maison. So the exposure of just being there and being around editorial is super beneficial to us as Americans when all of these magazines go there to respect Maison and the beauty of this show.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to add to that. What's really great is there is difference between the January and September, but you can work around, because so many of us go to, how many of you go to High Point and all the other shows? Yeah, exactly, traveling around. So you feel like you're on a circus and a tour, so to speak, but working it into your schedule it's not terrible, because September is a fantastic market. It's pretty much an open month for us, which is great. The January market's beautiful, to your point, because it also coincides with Design Week, or Fashion Week. So Paris is alive for those of you who love the fashion. And it's also the new offerings. So you're going to see everything that's brand new during the January market, and then September is partnered with Design Week. So the entire city is alive with design places to go to, galleries at the Miele, where you get to actually see the city, and you're not just walking the 8 gorgeous halls of furniture and accessories, but you also get to be involved and enveloped in the city as well, which is fantastic.
So when you go to a fair like Maison, are you going with a specific goal in mind? Is that helpful to you when you go to say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, or this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet with editors this trip, or I'm going to meet with vendors this trip. What are some of the sort of goals, I guess, that you attend these with?
I think that basically it's everything. To tell you the truth, it's inspiration. I used to buy containers at Maison, which, logistically you have to get prepared for. But, because if you're buying a Spanish vendor and you're buying a Belgian vendor and you have to consolidate, and, Air C's doing it and it has to go to London. So it is a coordination that happens when you go and buy containers there. But the beauty of what you see there and the edited beauty is it's special. You go to New York Gift or you go to Atlanta, it's in no way edited like Maison is.
No, not at all. I think you're correct. I agree that you sort of do it all. Fortunately for me, the first trip that I went as press. So I'm going to be introduced to all of the other press. I'm going to meet the editors that are there to sort of enjoy Maison. But it's also a great just introduction, because you're going to meet and see so many new people. To your point, you will be exposed to many more vendors than you ever thought. But what's really nice too is that a lot of them already have their logistics in place. So one of the first questions I ask is, do you ship to the US? and you either know or they don't, and they're going to tell you right away, and then you fall in love, and then you figure out how to get it all. But you meet the editors. All of their events are centered around new talent, new designers. They focus on new artists every single market, and so you are exposed to so much more. To your point, you socialize, you make friends, you see them there again. All of a sudden, your world is huge. You can't wait to get back. But I go wanting to do all of those things. So wanting to meet a new editor, wanting to explore and find new manufacturers, really. Yeah.
If you go in January, book your hotel far in advance.
Right now.
Yeah, because Fashion Week gobbles up all the great hotels.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. You're right.
Actually, this brings up, I was going to hit it earlier, but it's something that it seems like is coming up. What are some of your keys to success for these? Because it sounds like there's a lot of logistics involved. It's not just seeing pretty things. You really have to kind of dig down and have some plans in your hand before you hit the ground running.
Right. Well, Maison is split up in different areas. So they've separated, this year starting especially, they separated the home, Maison, and the object. So they were very, very specific about where everything was. There's a craft area. So you could go with intention, looking for something specific. If you have a store and it's rugs, then you know exactly where to go. If you're looking for ceramics, if you're looking for brand new things never seen before, start in the craft area. They're very good about, I use the app. So get on there, organize your trip, just like most markets have the app now. It's become like the thing you have to get through and figure it out. I kind of like a little bit of guidance when I go, so I can say, okay, I didn't meet these people last time, I'm gonna go see them this time. Or I need to get XYZ from this group, whatever. But it is large, but it's very well organized.
And you know what's great is the RERB drops right there, so you're not having to worry about if you want to Uber
That's the rail
there.
system. That's a metro.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so
Yes.
it's very, very easy to get to from the subway standpoint. So, and what's also, and Rocky LaFleur's here, who does a huge group that puts together American in Paris, and isn't that what it's called? And so there's parties and there's an opening night, and you're really experiencing Americans visiting Paris and absorbing the whole aspects of being in France and enjoying the sights and every aspect of being in Paris. So
as we've all said, there's lots of things you can get from going to Maison. And so how you do it, I guess, depends on what you're about. When I go shopping for anything, I'm the kind of person who has an A list and a B list. So my A list is, that's what I'm going out to find. And my B list is, if it comes into my sphere, onto my horizon, then I'm interested. So I think it's with that. Are you about buying things, selling things, shopping, socializing? You can have an A list of all of those, and you can moderate. So it does need some planning, though, because it's really large.
And discipline. To be able to get past the socializing and to the next thing on the A list takes discipline, but we all know that.
And also, it sounds like saying no when you realize that maybe they can't ship, so you can't totally fall in love. You have to keep your distance until it's allowed. Yes.
No, the other thing I think that's great about Maison is that you see color trends in the home. And those color trends might not hit us for another 6 months, but you come back with, I remember last market, it's all about peacock colors and vivid purple, and and then there was the whole pastel element. And so I think that when you go there, it's also a really great color story for fashion for the home.
The inspiration is really fun. If any of you have seen Patty Carpenter, who is the trend ambassador for Maison, she does a fantastic job of going to every market, coming back and reporting. So if you haven't seen it, just look her up. We just did it together at High Point, and it's always super poignant. It's 8 halls into one beautiful presentation to show you what's coming and how it was used and the different ways that you're seeing those trends, which is really important. And I just have to say this before we get carried away too much, is Maison did a beautiful job putting together my list of what I thought was the Americans' sort of roadblock to attending Maison. And if you didn't know Rocky and you didn't know he has this fantastic tour, which I highly recommend if you're truly afraid, but Froggy Travel was a company that worked with me, and they put together a package that was incredible. So it was round trip travel, it was 6 days, and your Metro Pass and your entrance into market for $2,000. And so for those us West Coast designers who will spend that going to High Point, I was pretty happy to sort of extend that. So just watch for my Instagram, and I'll put another post on there, and you can all reach out to join us as we do this traveling around Paris and Maison Market in the best, easiest way that we possibly can. And then you join Rocky if you want to hit all those VIP parties, because he's got them all dialed in. That's
Maybe Rocky should just come up here now. So you brought up a great point, Barclay, and I wanted to kind of spin off on that about some of the things that you're seeing in terms of the last couple of trips to Maison, or even at other markets, either internationally or in the U.S. For any of you, what have you seen that's sort of in the air that you think is going to perhaps be something at some point?
You know, it's interesting, and I'll give a plug to Kelli, is that about a year ago, you know, it was all about the Radius kind of like sofas and like, you know, tiered nightstand or tiered coffee tables that all kind of interlocked, and there were just a lot of interesting maybe 60s vibes to like with a soft palette. And I just went to Kelly's showroom at Sunpan, and it was Radius sofas and blush pink. Did you see I gave you a tag? Yes, I did. Yeah, so anyways, I think that we definitely get inspired by there. And in each market kind of like will surprise you. So, and certain vendors like go all out on color and display. And so it's I have some pictures up there of certain vendors that I love, so.
I think I have a slightly different perspective on that. So, you know, I'm an architect. I do get involved in the whole construction process and the interiors. And so I've had this interesting journey this year because I built a lot in the UK, and now I'm building here. So when you're there, you see things of great craftsmanship, and you're trying to work out, could I curate that into another situation, another location? Would it be appropriate? And is it going to enhance, or is it some kind of violation to take it? But I think it's all a very enriching experience.
So Barclay mentioned something that Kelli seems to have internalized design-wise. Are there any other specific things that you maybe can point to, or you, Gregory, can point to about that you've seen at the market and then have really kind of resonated that you've incorporated into your own work in some capacity?
Well, I go and I take pictures of things. It's always very personal, right? It's selfish. Like you're working on a project and you have something in your head, and so then you take 97 photos of something that looks like what you're working on, because that's what we're doing. We're very focused. So I'm working on an outdoor design, and what I noticed a ton of this last market was macrame, but not the macrame we used to do when we were kids. Not that macrame, not plant holder macrame, right? It's different. I'm dating myself, right? I know. I know it's very, very different now. So I'm seeing it in outdoor furniture, this heavily woven sides and insides, and it's just not the strings that we saw before, but really, really intricate, beautiful work. And it was everywhere. It was in the rugs that were really heavy. Odd-shaped rugs instead of your squares and your ovals, very different. And not fringe, but again, that macrame that was done intentionally. It was in screen separators, it was in wall art, but again, not your grandma's macrame, so watch for it, because we're gonna see it done everywhere, but much heavier and bigger way. It was really beautiful.
Sorry, I need my glasses. Anything else at the fairs that you've really kind of seen or experienced that has stuck with you?
Can I just say something about shows? So one of the issues I think of the world today is we kind of look for what we already expect to look for. You know, when you're on Instagram and looking at magazines, you look at what you already know. So travel and doing things unexpectedly takes you into new situations, and that really can give you another string to your bow, another way of looking at life, another way of designing objects you can put into properties that you hadn't imagined. So I think that serendipity aspect is really great and very democratic, because you're not relying on very big companies taking you to their showrooms and that being a global situation. What you are is really its power to the people because you're going out and finding it.
Right, and I think that that serendipity aspect, I think in certain ways, because of the rise of the internet and social media, isn't necessarily like it used to be, where you're actually going out and maybe stumbling into a shop with an amazing, that you find this thing that you didn't even know that you wanted, or so that kind of actual boots on the ground thing is where the really like resonant discoveries are sometimes still made.
I love the string on the bow. I'm going to use that one. Add another string to your bow. It's great. Absolutely. So just, going out of your comfort zone, really, because I know that half of the market, for me, any international market for that matter, is out of my comfort zone. So it's making you look at things differently. You're seeing color pairings that you've never seen before. You're seeing, again, the merchandising there is so different, but so inspirational. The way that they hang lights from the ceiling may inspire the next installation that you do. So you're getting more from it than you even know, because you're going thinking you're going to go to list A, and you end up with list B and so much more, because you're experiencing, you're getting out of your space. And even if it's not an international, it's just going on something that's 3 hours away, dropping yourself into a place that's different and not what you're used to looking for, because we get to be very creatures of habit. When you start to look for a sofa or a chaise or anything, you go to your go-tos. You have your go-to list, your A players, and sometimes you have to have somebody show you a whole nother A list, and that's why you go. Right?
And it's very global also. I think that's what's so special about it, is that it's a global show. So it's not just Parisian. It's very, very global and again, well edited. So.
Right. I was going to say, in some of the stores, obviously, luxury are doing that for you, and that's the goal. Is that they're traveling to the markets, they're finding those pieces that are new, different, unique, and that's what makes them special. And those are the stores that you want to pop into, because hey, I didn't make it there this year. What did you see? You bring it to me and show me what was there.
And the other side is you're talking to makers as well. You're talking to the craftspeople. So you're not talking to someone who's spent half an hour finding out about it. It's their life. So you get the whole story.
So beyond design fairs, when you're traveling internationally, I think we hit on this a little bit, but what are some of the things that you really do to push you out of your comfort zone and to make those discoveries?
I think that there's really special things that you find on the flea market on Saturday. So I always kind of block out Saturdays for the flea market, so I can be inspired by old things. So I think that's a special part of going to Paris. And then in January it's Deco Off too. So textiles are extremely important in January, and the whole aspect of exploring different textiles companies and what they're presenting in Paris.
So I find different environments really exciting to work with as an architect, particularly so junctions. So like the junction between a cliff face and the ocean, or a hill and a flat landscape. So coming here is a fantastic challenge and out of my comfort zone. The weather's different. So that kind of experience is a challenge and really exciting.
I was just going to add, and just experiencing, for me, going to the off the beaten path neighborhoods, and love to just sit and have a little snack and a cup of coffee and or a cocktail, whatever you prefer, maybe both. And you get to see life in a different way, just like when you're people watching and you see everybody wearing different clothes and how they wear them, the choices that they make, how the stores are put together, how people sit together and talk, are they different, are they the same? And that just tells you so much about the environment.
And the food.
And of course, the food is phenomenal, we know. And it's just, the best thing about it is experimenting. Not hitting the Irish pub in Paris like I did on my first trip. Totally did that. I did. I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy.
And I think hotel design and restaurant design is a huge inspiration. So dining out and the hotels you stay at and visiting for lunch and so on. But the decor of those locations is super inspiring.
So that international travel aspect has been really influential, I think, with what's happened in residences in London, where people live in London, because they've traveled the best hotels in the world, they've come back and they said, I want that or better. And then that translates to other places. So it's all really enhancing, and that is a good aspect of the global world, where you can get an idea and you can transplant it.
Are you, Kelli and Barclay, also seeing clients coming back from traveling and saying, okay, so I was in Dubai, for example, and now I want, this is something that's important to me?
I think they've always done that. It's either a family heirloom that needs to be worked in that you're looking at going, I can't, or I won't. Or it's those travel photos or that experience. Most people are looking for the experience, right? We're creating an emotion, we're creating feeling. So, that's a whole other design psychology thing we could talk about for a whole nother panel. But it's getting to the why of what they want more than just how to make it pretty and copying something from a magazine. So it's very deep, and usually it's from their travels and experience, a positive experience no matter where it was, they want to recreate. Now, are we gonna put an aquarium in the middle of the house and surround it? Probably not, but I know you've probably done it. And then we call him and say, can you make this happen, right? For any amount of money, we can make anything happen, right? Yeah.
Clients love to travel too. We take clients to Italy, we choose blocks of marble, that it ends up, they say, I don't want that one's better, and it ends up in their house. They love that.
Have any of you taken clients to a fair before? Or how does that work? Is that a fundamentally different experience versus just you going yourself?
I don't suggest it.
You suggest it?
I don't suggest it.
I don't suggest it
I don't suggest it.
Yeah,
no.
because they can't edit.
Right.
Yeah.
They're at high risk.
Yeah.
So we're curators. So
Right.
if they think they're curators, we've got a problem, because they're not.
They need to
They're
stay in
all
their
over the
lane.
place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. I mean, you know how bad it is when they start asking their gardeners and their friends of friends what they think about your design? Worse if you take them, like 100 times worse. Don't let them. No.
So it's all about reporting back versus getting them there. And the tactful way of being like, sorry, maybe another time. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about, just because we're talking about fairs, and the focus at fairs is on new things, new designs, new color palettes, new what have you. And I'm curious about the old things. When you are abroad, are you looking at the old things a lot? Are you trying to incorporate old things? Are you getting containers of old things to bring home? What's your perspective on old things?
I think, to tell you the truth, design is an interpretation of previous design, which is an interpretation of previous design. So when you go and see what's going on at Maison, they're interpreting previous design. They might not be copying it, but they're interpreting it. So I think that you actually see old become new when you go to Maison. So.
Yeah. So on the flippant answer, I guess, could be, a broken clock is right twice a day. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of when it happens.
You're so good with those. I'm adding a string to my bow. I've got a broken clock. I love it.
But on a, you throw me off.
Sorry. A broken clock is right twice a day.
So the other thing, though, is quality craftsmanship. Working with natural materials in a great way is just timeless. So it doesn't matter when it's from.
And you're saying that as someone who works in the contemporary vein quite a bit.
Contemporary with quality. That's
right. Another question now, because you've traveled internationally, and do you feel like design is maybe becoming a little bit more homogenized as the world becomes more connected and globalized, or is there still really a distinct sort of regional, you're seeing things that maybe are produced in Spain that you absolutely wouldn't see produced in France or in England versus here, So I'm curious.
I think so. I think we're, even though you're going to see the trends and you have all of those same international people showing at the different markets, I think where you see the differences is in implementation. So not necessarily at market, because market, everybody goes to show their wares. But when you're going through the hotels and you're seeing how things are done in public spaces, that's where you see the lens of the designer is where it's different. The lens of designers in different places are definitely different. They're taking some of the same elements that you've seen and doing them in a different way. That's what's exciting for me, is to see that difference around.
Yeah, I agree, and also it's, you know, it's very nuanced design. It can look like you'll go to the same showroom, you put it in the same property, and just color can just make the light outside. So you need to be sensitive to the where you are, the environment of where you are. So I think in the end, it's in the hands of the person putting it together. It becomes really individual, even though it looks like it's a global situation.
And I also think that because you're dealing with so many different countries, materials are very, you know, different and indigenous to the area that they're coming from. So I think you'd see a lot of interpretation of design based on the country that they're from and the region they're from too.
So I'm curious now about sort of the differences, and we hit on this a bit, but the American kind of fair experience versus the experience at Maison or the European experience in general. What are some of the distinctions between those, and are your approaches different at those shows versus if you were headed to Europe, aside from being in a completely different culture?
I think the merchandising, as we mentioned before, is what sets the different markets apart from an American market. I think we have to dig a little bit harder, or be a little more creative in our vision when we're seeing things in an American market, in my opinion, because I can see the same exact brand at High Point versus that same brand in Maison, and the way that they merchandise can be completely different. Much more inspirational, bolder, spending incredible amounts of money. I don't even want to ask how much money they are spending. It is mind-blowing to see how a seemingly small company that we would see here taking up a very fractional space, and then at Maison it's huge and things are falling off the walls and they've got tables upside down suspended in the ceilings, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I thought you were just a little guy. And they're not. So that tells you where their importance is and where they're finding their buyers, and very being mindful of how they merchandise to the different markets. But I find that the markets are very different in that respect.
I mean, they're building two-story buildings with hardwood flooring, demising walls, I mean, windows. It's a full construction, you know, experience. They don't skimp on expense there. I mean, I think you go to other markets, they're temporary, I mean, very temporary in display, where here it's almost a competition in display, so.
Yeah, but there's different scales, so that absolutely you can go into rooms that look, you'd be happy to live there forever. They're completely finished. And then, as I said, you can buy objects, and there are tens of thousands of things you'd be interested in. So it's just the scale is incredible.
I mean, how do you curate for yourself?
For our own homes, like personally?
Well, no, when you have that curatorial eye at the shows.
It can be overwhelming, just like for our clients, but of course we're so professional. We know exactly how to get through all of that without a headache. Right, so I find champagne helps a lot to help get through all of that. It's difficult, so you do have to have an A-list of sort of who you thought you wanted to see, who you were thinking would be interesting. And then if you've never been before, you don't have that list. You just go with big, wide eyes like I did, took it all in, left with a giant happy headache, and was happy to do it again in the next day, and really just learn from all the different new vendors and manufacturers that are there. So it depends on what you're really going for, your goal. But I try to go open, because even this year there was over 600 brand new vendors just in one market. 600 new. So it was, I couldn't possibly know who they were and who I was ready to see. I just went.
And I actually take a different approach. I don't choose like who I want to see. I walk every aisle in every hall. So that's why it takes me so long, is because I don't want to miss the small vendors. So they might not be able to afford what the end caps are in the display halls, but there's a lot of jewels in those aisles.
So going down and kind of doing it on a micro level. I mean, it's just ultimately keeping an open mind and wearing comfortable shoes.
Wearing comfortable shoes. Yes, what she said.
So I think to wrap up, I wanted to do sort of a lightning round about just kind of international experiences and travel in general. So for all of you, what is your favorite place to travel, either here or abroad?
Well, I just came back from Mykonos, and I'm a blue and white guy. So, so I actually was very happy to be in Mykonos. And then I'm going to Mexico City for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
wow.
I haven't been in like 15 years, so I'm looking forward to that and, the experience, the art of Mexico City. So.
Well, everyone who knows me knows Barcelona is my city. Like, I cry when I land and cry when I leave, and I don't know why. I'll find out one day. A past life, who knows? But it's my favorite place. My daughter lives there, so that doesn't hurt. But it's just, I love the Gothic architecture mixed in with the new, and I just love it.
So this past year, I've been discovering more of California and more of the UK. So I've enjoyed all of that. I have to say that the place that I've been to that is most unusual for me was Kyoto. I just think it's gorgeous. The mixture of temples and gardens, it's a dream.
Now, do you have any places that are on your sort of next stop besides Mexico City, which I think was just named Design Capital of the World recently? So there's a lot happening there.
I date someone that like pushes my travel. So he constantly pushes like where we're going to go next. So I think that like the dreams of like where he wants to go, Egypt, Dubai, so it's I think it's good to have that younger perspective where it's like, let's get on an airplane and explore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So you're basically going anywhere.
Yes, I'm going anywhere.
He's
yeah,
going anywhere and everywhere.
that I can afford.
Exactly. I think Japan has always been a dream for me. I mean,
It's a dream.
honestly, it's always been a dream. So it's been very, very high on my list. I'm putting that out there in the universe right now. If anybody wants to go, let's go. That's high on my list. I'll make Kyoto a first stop.
Is there a fair in Japan that you can hook up with?
I'll find it.
Do you do that?
I will find it.
I like the idea of traveling, and wherever I travel, building a house.
That's not a bad goal.
So I'm going to Chianti in November, working on a house. I'm pretty happy about that.
Fantastic. You gonna have some guests? Make a little guest space there for everyone?
Yeah.
So what on your travels is your favorite thing you've ever acquired? Which is a hard question.
I just, being in Mykonos, I found, and I posted on Instagram, I don't know if you saw, but I found the evil eye pillows that are all hand sewn. And so I bought a 6-foot black pillow with the evil eye in blue. And I put it in, I designed for Castell Furniture, and I put it in the outdoor day bed, so it's like my back pillow to the day bed. So, and I'm, I live in a very like cottagey, ranch, so this is a juxtaposition to my backyard. I love that. But it's supposed to be good luck.
I was thinking about avoiding the question and saying I'm more into experiences than purchases, but
Which is fine. Too.
yeah, but I did buy some beautiful candlesticks in Paraty in Brazil, which is another great place. You should put it on your list.
Yeah, that's on my list too. I am having a tough time with this because I bring home so much. I always bring home a new suitcase to take with me because I bought so much. I always have to bring that home. I think it was living in the Gothic or the Gothique of Barcelona, and I just picked up this beautiful Gaudi-inspired piece. It's a tile that was actually made from the mold of the tiles along La Gracia. So I just had to have it because I love the city so much. So it's a cement tile, really fun to bring home, that cement tile. Like, what else can I put in the suitcase? Because it was already going to be over, right? So I have this cement tile wrapped up. But it now is in my kitchen so I can look at it and remember that I just love the city so much.
And this actually leads me to my next question, which is what is your favorite, most resonant travel experience? It sounds like Mykonos is really like...
It just was the most recent.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe in a month it'll be Mexico City.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, you'll have to report back to us.
I was just in Barcelona, so I'm still there too. Yeah.
I went there for my birthday. It was beautiful.
I'm traveling right now, so...
Right,
you know.
right. So tell us about your experiences here in Los Angeles.
It's all open.
Well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us.
Hold on.
I think we have some time for some questions, so if anyone would... Yes. Oh,
Hold on.
Yes, we have someone coming around with a microphone.
Is it on? Hello, Benjamin Huntington. Fabulous. Thank you. Really exciting. I've walked Maison Objet once, and boy, yes, you're right. My feet hurt, and that was enough. Question though, when you speak to vendors, and you talk about the prices and getting it back to America and so on and so forth, do many of them say, "Oh, we have a local so and so," or is it more, "Well, are they ready and willing to take care of those things for you and work with you?"
Yeah, there's actually usually an American representative, so that'll handle the conversion and help you with the consolidation. And so there's usually someone that helps the American with every vendor. So, yeah.
I think one of my next things I'm working on with Maison and sort of to facilitate exactly that issue is that I would love to see some kind of a symbol or something to let the American buyers know that when you are about to, like in the book or the app or whatever it is, to let you know that they already have inroads, they've already have distribution to the US. And then maybe for the smaller vendor that is at Maison, they would know who to partner with and to fill containers with. So it would be something, logistics has been something that they've talked about a long time, especially now. We're not gonna talk about how tariff-fied we are, but we know the conversation that everybody's been having about our friends on the other side and what's gonna happen. So the European market is super excited about it, not terrified at all, and excited to get on board and start importing more things to us. So it's a conversation that's gonna rise up again and probably have more legs this time around.